what's up, fish? This is Quick Query Quiz. Let's get started.
James Brown's revolutionary song Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud was on his Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud album, released March of 1969. On March 1st, Blanche Kelso Bruce is born in 1841. He was the first African American to serve full term in the U.S. Senate. On March 2, 1867, Howard University is established. This historically black research university is located in Washington, D.C. Here is just a few of the notable alumni. On March 2, 1955, Claudette Colvin was arrested at the age of 15 in Montgomery, Alabama, for refusing to give up her seat to a white woman on a segregated bus. This was approximately 9 months before the incident with Mrs. Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks was the secretary of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and this helped to fuel the 1955 Montgomery bus boycott. On March 3, 2024, the NBA.com reports LeBron James' scoring tracker. It is reported that the Lakers star has reached 40,000 career points. On March 3, 1865, the Freedmen's Bureau is established. This was supposed to assist newly freed slaves by providing necessities like land, shelter, food, clothing, and medical services. On March 4, 1877, Garrett Morgan is born. He was a respected inventor, most notable for the modern traffic light. On March 5, 1770, the Boston's massacre occurs. This was a riot between British soldiers and colonists. On March 6, 2024, Mary J. Blige announces her Strength of a Woman Festival and Summit on CBSMorning.com. She states that it is an all-women production. On March 6, 1857, the Dred Scott v. Sanford decision was rendered. The case was argued February 11, 1856 through February 14, 1856, and then was later re-argued December 15, 1856 through December 18, 1856. On March 6, Part 1 of Nicky Giovanni and James Baldwin Conversation on So airs in 1969. On March 7, 1965, the first Selma March is stopped by the state troopers. This march was led by SNCC Chairman John Lewis and the Reverend Hosea Williams of SCLC. Once the protesters reached the Edmund Pettus Bridge, they were met with violence by Alabama law enforcement officials. This day was also called the Bloody Sunday. On March 8, 2024, Forbes sits down with Sheila Johnson to discuss her roadmap for success. She was the co-founder of Black Entertainment Television, also known as BET. She is the CEO of Salamander Hotels and Resorts, as well as she is the first billionaire black woman. On March 8, 1876, the U.S. Senate denies Pinckney Benton Stewart Pinchback. He was a respected Union Army officer. He became lieutenant governor under Oscar Dundee. He later became the governor, and despite him only being in office for 35 days, 10 acts of the legislature became law during this time. March 8, 2021, after reports stated in February that Mr. Cornel West was being denied consideration for tenure at Harvard University. Mr. Cornell West announced that he would leave Harvard and move to the Union Theological Seminary in Manhattan. He submitted a letter of resignation to Harvard on June 30, 2021, and believed that he was denied tenure due to his critical stance on Israel and Palestinian causes. On March 8, New Jack City is released in theaters. The movie was directed by Mario Van Peebles in 1991. On March 8, 2014, A Trip to Bountiful has its United States release. Cicely Tyson is not only the main character, she is also one of the executive producers. The movie also stars Blair Underwood, Vanessa Williams, and Keke Palmer. On March 9th, Clifton Reginald Wharton Sr. sworn in as ambassador to Norway. He was the first African-American diplomat to become an ambassador through foreign service, and not by political appointment. On March 10, 2024, Erica Alexander has her red carpet interview with E.T. and discussed her new movie role, 40 years in the entertainment business and the 30-year anniversary for living single. On March 10, 1913, unfortunately Harriet Tubman passes away. She was the Moses of her people, leader of the Underground Railroad, and a spy for the Union Army. On March 10, 2024, a Fionn Crockett appears on Drink Champs to discuss his independent film that pays homage to the journey of hip-hop. On March 11, 1959, Lorraine Hansberry Broadway premiere of Raisin in the Sun happens. This play is such a classic, it is timeless, and I watch every version.
Going out and be immoral or commit crimes because I don't believe in God. I don't even think about it. It's just that I get tired of him getting credit for all the things the human race achieves through its own stubborn effort. Well, there simply is no blasted God. There's only man, and it is he who makes miracles.
Now you say after me, in my mother's house, there is still God. In my mother's house, there is still God.
In my mother's house, there is still God.
Now you say after me, in my mother's house, there is still God. In my mother's house, there is still God.
In my mother's house, there's still God.
Now you say after me. In my mother's house, there is still God. In my mother's house, there is still God.
In my mother's house, there's still God.
On March 12, 1932, Mr. Andrew Jackson Young is born. He was the first African American to serve as chief delegate to the United Nations. He was also the 55th mayor of Atlanta. On March 12, 2024, Black Information Network reports that in 2023, Mr. Denzel Washington was the only black person to make Forbes' highest-paid actors list. On March 13, 1865, the Confederate Army allows slaves to be soldiers. On March 13, 2024, Angela Bassett appears on Tamron Hall to discuss her legacy and honorary Oscar. On March 14, Quincy Jones is born. On March 14, 1787, African Americans in Dartmouth, Massachusetts challenged the tax laws. Their petition questioned their requirements to pay taxes, but still not being afforded the opportunity to vote. On March 15, 1947, John Wesley Lee, Jr. becomes the first Navy officer. On March 16, the incredible Clifton Powell is born. He is most notable for playing Martin Luther King, Jr. in Selma, Lord Selma, Luke in Rush Hour, and Cuddy in Dead Presidents.
See, I ain't the enemy, young blood. I don't want no trouble.
On March 16, 2020, for Fox 26 Houston, interviews Tyrone Jacobs, Jr. as he joins the Isaiah Factor, uncensored, to discuss his viral NASA headshot and the adversity faced to become an engineer. On March 16, 1827, the first African-American newspaper was published. It was called the Freedom's Journal. This black-owned paper discussed current events, editorials, and contemporary issues. On March 17, 1806, Norbert Ryu was born. He was a respected chemical engineer and scientist. On March 17, 1927, Rudolph Frank Moore was born. He was a comedian, entrepreneur, actor, and independent film producer. On March 18, 1847, Louis Lautier becomes the first African-American given the Senate Press Gallery accreditation, the Standing Committee of Correspondence, which was a group of reporters that decided on credentials for the Senate and House press galleries, unfortunately rejected his application because his client papers were mostly weeklies and the press gallery and admitted only reporters for daily papers. On March 19, 1961, James Benton Parson becomes the first chief judge of a federal court. On March 20, 1852, Harriet Beecher Stowe published Uncle Tom's Cabin. On March 20, 2024, Luther Campbell, also known as Uncle Luke, appears on Tamron Hall. While as a member of the Two Live crew, he embarked on the landmark censorship case for free speech. On March 21, 1965, protesters marched from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama. This was due to blacks being obstructed from registering to vote and the murder of Jimmy Lee Jackson. Jimmy Lee Jackson was a black civil rights activist and deacon in the Baptist Church. In 1965, he was shot and killed by state troopers while he was unarmed and participating in a peaceful voting rights demonstration. On March 22, 1794, the Slave Trade Act is established. This prohibited the importation of slaves to the United States. Clear evidence shows that this act was not abided by due to the last slave ship being voyaged in 1860. March 21, 2024, The Freaknik Story was released on Hulu. It was an annual spring break festival in Atlanta, Georgia. It was initially attended by students enrolled at historically black colleges and universities in the Atlanta University Center. It began in 1983 as a small picnic in a public park near the Atlanta University Center sponsored by the D.C. On March 22, 2022, Senator Cory Booker uploads his conversation with Ketanji Brown Jackson. On his YouTube platform, he questions Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. At her Supreme Court nomination, she is now Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. Jackson was nominated to the Supreme Court by President Joe Biden on February 25, 2022, and confirmed by the U.S. Senate and sworn into office that same year. March 22, 2024, the Shirley Chisholm movie appears on Netflix, starring Regina King, the late Lance Reddick, Terrence Howard, Michael Cherry, and many more. On March 22, 2024, The Breakfast Club YouTube premieres Uncle Luke, Jay Allen, and Nikki Biles. They discuss Freaknik history, Uncle Luke's legacy, lawsuits, and various other topics.
I knew the big picture. And the big picture, it was coming out to hip-hop. You know, and they was coming out to me. Yeah, I was a part in the game because I was a low-hanging fruit. You know, a lot of people think that it was one case. It was actually 3 cases.
On March 23, 1985, unfortunately, Patricia Roberts Harris dies. She was a legal scholar and the first black woman to a cabinet position. She was United States Secretary of Health and Human Services, 1979 to 1981, United States Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, 1977 to 1979, United States Ambassador to Luxembourg, 1965 to 1967, March 24, 1995, initial release of Tall Tale, The Unbelievable Adventures of Pecos Bill, The Adventure Discussed, Pecos Bill, John Henry Calamity Jane. John Henry was a folk hero. The fairy tale states that he had a severe heart attack and worked himself to death trying to compete with technology. Technology will kill you. On March 24, 2002, Halle Berry is the first black woman to receive the Academy Award for Best Lead Actress in a Leading Role. On March 25, 1975, the Salem Poor American Revolutionary War heroes are honored with a postage stamp. On March 25, 2012, Finding Your Roots has an episode with Harry Connick Jr., actor and musician, and Branford Marsalis, legendary jazz musician. Henry Louis Gates Jr. takes the guests on a journey of their family roots and dynamic while intertwining the realities of the world and civilization. On March 26, 1937, William H. Hastie becomes the first black federal judge. March 26, 2024, Good Burger 2 was released on DVD and Blu-ray by Paramount Home Entertainment. It was the highest viewed original content on Paramount Plus when it initially released. On March 26, Diana Ross is born. The former member of the Supremes and actress of The Wiz has had remarkable accomplishments. The Wiz also starred Nipsey Russell, Michael Jackson, Lena Horne, Richard Pryor, Mabel King, Ted Ross, Harry Madden, Johnny Brown, just to name a few. On March 27, 2024, Netflix released the trailer for the reimagination of Good Times. The original Good Times television series displayed the misfortunes and triumphs of a lower-income black family. The original television series was created by Eric Monty and Michael Evans. On March 27, 1934, Arthur Mitchell is born. He was the co-founder of the African American Ballet Company. On March 28, 1992, according to Paramount Pictures, on the episode of Yo MTV Rap, A Tribe Called Quest airs a double video for the singles Jazz We Got and Buggin' Out. The episode also featured De La Soul and leaders of the New School. On March 28, 1914, Saul Butler sets the interscholastic record for the 60-yard dash. On March 29, 2023, ABC News broke that Kelsey Johnson and Akai Jackson, to black students in New Orleans, proves Pythagorean theorem by using trigonometry without a circular logic. On March 29, 1918, Pearl Bailey was born. She was a Tony Award-winning actress and singer. On March 29, 2024, unfortunately, Louis Gossett Jr. passes away. His esteemed acting won him an Oscar in 1983. On March 30, 1870, the 15th Amendment was added to the Constitution. On March 30th, MC Hammer is born. He has brought us the best dance moves, style, and Trinity 5-7. On March 30th, CBS Texas reports on the state of the Black Man March. The march was organized to bring awareness on mental health, personal health, and poverty that constantly divides the black community. On March 31st, 1879, Joseph E. Washer was born. He was founder of the Universal Life Insurance Company. On March 31st, 2024, unfortunately, Casey Benjamin passes away. He was a Grammy Award-winning saxophonist, producer, and songwriter.